a organisation that's doing a whole bunch of stuff to help people thrive in their community is VisionWest. Brook Turner from VisionWest joins me on the program now. Brook, kia ora, thanks for your time today.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Great to be back.
So let's jump straight into it. What does a thriving community look like from your perspective, Brook?
Well, I think a thriving community is where everyone's got something to hope for, everyone's got a place to live, and everyone's got a contribution that they can make. And no one's on the fringes or on the outside of that place to belong, that place to contribute, that place to live, and that thing to hope for. So to me, those are the fundamentals.
That sounds like a wonderful world. Some people, of course, for them, I mean, that's what they hope for, that's what they dream for. That is not their reality. What are some of the obstacles? What are some of the causal factor for people not thriving in our communities?
Well, I think there's actually what we call a wicked problem. There's a whole series of sort of inputs and issues that actually people are facing. You know, we've seen record levels of food inflation over the last few years that has made just the very simple thing of having enough food on your plate a real challenge. I mean, you would have seen in the report that 1 in 2 Pacifica children are in food insecure communities, and that 1 in 4 of our kids go without food at some point in the week.
Yeah.
That's not to mention, you know, the issue we have with housing. You know, home ownership is decreasing amongst Pacifica households in New Zealand. It's decreasing amongst Māori households. It's decreasing amongst the elderly. We've got an issue for older New Zealanders who are going to retire for the first time without their mortgage paid off and without houses that they own many times. That is going to make the pension completely unaffordable. And some of those strains and sort of pressures are being felt right now, today. You know, we have a whole bunch of inequalities around health. You know, anyone who's listening to the radio or reading the news today, you know, what day today in New Zealand do you not hear something that's going wrong in our health or education system? So there's some little fraying pieces of these systems that supported us that are no longer fit for purpose, and we need to pay real attention to how we might uplift and lift and shift them into 2025 and beyond.
I mean, a lot of this is to do with financial pressure, but is money the answer? Do we just need more money, more resources for this people, for the people in our communities? Would that in itself make the difference, Brook?
Look, I don't think money by itself is the answer. Obviously, you know, income adequacy is a huge, huge thing. You know, 30% of solo parents in this country are in material hardship. You know, that's wrong, because that means the kids are in material hardship. You know, we're not doing enough to help those mums, to help those dads, to help those sole parents raise New Zealand's kids. You know, they're tomorrow's leaders. They're the leaders of industry. So we do need income adequacy, but equally, we need connected communities. We need communities where we know who our neighbours are, we know what the needs are locally, and, you know, we need a bottom-up approach to that so that people in communities aren't left behind by sort of a top-down approach to answering.
Part of the challenge with that, I suppose, if people are in struggling situations, if they're really struggling with to pay the bills, to feed the family and all those sorts of things, not a lot of mental energy left for social engagement. People tend to just hunker down in those situations.
That's right. And, you know, I mean, I find it just absolutely amazing that when you put a person who is passionate about someone else thriving alongside someone who's in hardship, and you have a little bit of resourcing and a little bit of support over a short or medium or long term, the changes that can happen. The truth is, we all can point to people in our lives that have got alongside us. We've been in hardship, and that it's not the money or the house or the food on the table that got us through. It's actually relationships. It's people in our lives that have come along and gone, hey, Andrew, I see that you're struggling, mate. I've got you. I'm with you. Anytime you need me, I'm there. If I need to meet you in a coffee shop, if I'm a phone call away, if I need to come to that appointment with you, you know, let's do that. And, you know, I've got examples of that in my own life, you know, where, you know, through financial hardship, at one stage, my family lost their car, and a family in our local church gave us the car. You know, we sold our car to pay bills. We were that hard up. And there's a family in the church that they knew the Turners, they saw the need, and they said, you know what, we've got a spare car. We can do with one car. We're going to give our other car to the Turners.
Wow.
And sometimes
Yeah.
it can be that simple. Other times it needs bigger, more, wraparound supports, particularly for people who are struggling with addiction and domestic violence and some of those areas that feel like you're sliding down a tarpaulin into treacle and you need a bit of help to get up.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you just need someone who will stand with you, who won't stop believing in you, and will be there for you in your hardest moment.
When we're looking at the headline issues, you mentioned them before, it's economics, it's education, it's the health system, it's housing. For a lot of people, they think, oh gosh, this is what the government needs to fix. It's the government's fault that we're in this mess, and the government should create systems or provide finances and resources to fix all of these problems. But from what you're saying, the government isn't in a place to come alongside somebody relationally. The government isn't in a place to notice when people are having a hard day. That sounds more like the church is ideally placed to provide those solutions, perhaps alongside the government and community agencies.
That's right. I mean, you think of that number 8 wire that we are so proud of in New Zealand, the Peter Blake make the boat go faster, the Red Sox, or we think of Rocket Lab, with putting satellites into space, or, our amazing tech company Zero. These weren't government initiatives. These were New Zealanders who said, hey, we've got something to give to New Zealand. We've got something to give to the world. And I don't actually think there's any difference in the way that we respond to community needs. The best ideas, actually the best government-funded programs for social and health and educational needs didn't start with government. They started with teachers, they started with doctors, they started with social workers, they started with community development workers, they started with iwi and hapu and whānau, who actually said, hey, we've got something here, let's pilot it, let's have a look at it, and then take that to the decision makers and say, we might need a little bit of funding, we might need a little bit of support and resources to scale this. And largely the most successful programs have been that. So I can guarantee you in churches across the country, in community organizations of faith across the country, and those that are socially minded, there will be those little kākanoas, those little seeds of hope that are there. And that's where the change will come from. It won't come from the political speech. It will come from the mum and dad New Zealanders, the young New Zealanders, the older New Zealanders who go, you know what, I've got a thought of that need in my community. What if we did this? And just by stepping out and taking the courage to take that risk, to do something new and do something that is brave. And I think that's how we will change it.
And that is the story, really, of VisionWest and what is behind the remarkable work that you're achieving in your community. Brook, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. Look forward to some regular conversations with you in 2025, talking about what it is that you're doing in your community and how we can perhaps replicate some of those ideas in different parts of Aotearoa. Thank you for what you do. Thanks for the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Andrew. It's a pleasure.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.